They sent 12 assassins, silent, elite, genetically perfected, but one human was waiting. He didn't send a warning, he sent a message in blood. 12 went in, only pieces came out. The Empire's message was clear. Eliminate the human. They sent 12 assassins, trained, silent, ruthless. What they didn't know, the human wasn't hiding, he was waiting. Hours later, a shuttle returned to the Empire. Inside, just pieces. The Empire sent shadows. The 12 weren't soldiers. They weren't even considered people anymore. They were assets, blacklisted, augmented, chemically stabilized assassins engineered to leave no trace. Each one specialized, each one lethal, each one failed only once in their lives, and that failure came with this mission. High Command delivered the target profile with a single line: human, class red operative, termination priority black. No foe, no rank, no bio, just grainy footage from a massacre on asteroid 7V Ra, where a battalion of synthetic enforcers went offline in 12 seconds. Cameras showed one figure walking out, unarmed, unafraid. And then the screen died. They traced him to Varn Station 9, neutral ground, legally untouchable, so the 12 were sent. No announcement, no warning, one planetfall, one objective: eliminate and vanish. They landed in silence. No lights, no signature trail. Each assassin broke off from the core formation. One took to the air vents. 2 infiltrated service corridors. 4 embedded in civilian crowds. The rest crawled into dark systems, shadowing him from the grid. They watched. He didn't hide. He drank black coffee in a rusting maintenance shack, read old paper novels, didn't carry weapons, didn't log into comms, didn't react when they circled. Some thought he hadn't detected them. They were wrong. He was waiting. The first to approach was the knife specialist, fast, silent. Nanoblade dipped in neural paralyzer. She never reached him. Her body was found 6 hours later, if you could call it a body. Just ribs, wired into a spiral and suspended from the ceiling with her own braided hair. At the base, her transponder blinking red with 3 words in the message buffer. Not the first. Command thought it was a bluff, so the other 11 advanced. 2 dropped in from above. He was gone. 1 detonated a remote gas explosive. No confirmation. They followed blood, but it turned out to be synthetic. His traps were tailored to their own biology. The 6th assassin attempted neural hijack. Her eyes rolled white as she connected. For 3.2 seconds she saw everything. Then her mind flatlined. Her body began to claw out her own optic nerves. She didn't scream, but her message burst did, over and over on the squad's encrypted line. He's inside, he's inside, he's inside, until her vocal cords tore. Hours passed. Then a box arrived at Varn Station's front dock. Security didn't touch it. They just backed away when they saw the insignia carved into the side, the sigil of the 12, and the blood running from beneath the lid. Inside, 3 arms, 1 jaw, 1 Neuralink antenna folded into a symbol, not human. His message wasn't encrypted. It was visible, carved in bone. Too slow. Command called for extraction, but 5 assassins were still active, or so they thought, because by the time they rerouted the shuttle, only 1 responded to comms. The others weren't answering. Worse, they weren't dead. Their heartbeats were still broadcasting, just not from the same location. Pieces of them had been distributed across the station, sewn into pipes, wired into the data lines, placed deliberately in front of cameras with no feed. He wasn't hiding kills. He was making statements. The last assassin made it to the extraction point, bloodied, rattled, missing 2 fingers. He collapsed onto the shuttle ramp, clutched the commander's sleeve and whispered, "It's not a human," before dying. His lungs had been filled with ground glass. He'd been breathing pain for hours. And still, the operative had let him run, just far enough to send the message. Back in Empire territory, the incident was sealed under Black Sun clearance. The Empire's PR branch issued a false report, training accident, test gone wrong. But those in power knew better. 12 went in. None came back whole. And now, across the Empire's silent channels, a new phrase circulated among those who used to laugh at humans. Never send 12. He'll send them back in pieces. The human was waiting. They thought he was hiding. They thought he was vulnerable. They thought he was human in the way they understood weakness. But he wasn't hiding. He was hunting the hunters, and he had started before they ever arrived. He knew their deployment pattern the moment the station's gravity fluctuated, not visibly, not to anyone else. But he noticed the microdrift in the east vent corridors, where drop pods vented atmosphere fast enough to cool structural seams. He smelled the lubricant from their boots in the air system 2 hours before the first strike. He heard the silence in the data flow, too clean, too ordered, a synthetic footprint trying to pass as vacuum. He didn't panic. He calibrated. He didn't rig traps like a soldier. He restructured environments like an architect of death. The vents weren't mined. They were recalibrated with harmonic resonance fields, set to collapse in on themselves only when a soundless step pattern was detected. One of them climbed inside, made it 20 meters, then disappeared in a wet crunch and static. A minute later, station maintenance reported a pressure spike. They opened the panel, found nothing but a single hand, still holding a blade, wrist severed clean by the structure, not the human. He hadn't attacked. He'd let the station do it for him. The comms specialist infiltrated the relay center. She locked down the signal scrubbers and attempted to plant a false broadcast. As soon as she linked, her screen filled with one phrase, "I hear you." Her headset melted against her skull in a single burst of directional energy. The pain wasn't lethal. That was the point. Her screams were recorded and fed back into the assassin's private frequency. One of them cut his own ear off to stop hearing her. Didn't work. She was already in their minds. The sniper chose elevation, steady hands, oxygen cut. No heartbeat for 15 minutes. His scope watched the target exit the food quarter. He adjusted the aim. Windless shot, he squeezed. The bullet turned in the air, not deflected, redirected. It struck his own stabilizer bracket, causing the structure to collapse. He didn't fall. He vanished. Cleanup teams later found his rifle fused into the floor. No blood, no body, just a note etched into the lens. "You're not the only one with physics." Two worked together, close combat specialists. They moved fast, unpredictable. One went high, one low. The moment they breached the target's perimeter, he wasn't there. The hallway light pulsed once, and then the gravity inverted for just half a second, localized and surgical. Their own blades, moving with full force, sliced through each other. Both fell twitching. The walls around them were untouched. Their vitals showed live readings for 12 minutes, enough time for them to realize what had happened, enough time to bleed into the symbol their bodies formed, a circle with a slash through it. Denied. He moved through shadows not to hide, but to arrange, each death placed perfectly, each failure magnified, not to impress, not to send a message, but to make sure the last assassin understood before he died they'd never been hunting him. They'd just been delivered. The final three regrouped, broken protocol. They never needed to work in formation. But fear isn't rational. Their vitals spiked. They used analog speech. Their AI rejected their decisions as unstable. They shut it down. They moved to escape, but the station had changed. Doors were different. Stairs looped. Signs reworded themselves in their language. One step behind. Then, "I'm not following you." And finally, "You're following me." They ran. One shot the other by mistake. The second died alone, face down in a hallway that wasn't on any map. The third found a comms console, tried to scream for help. Only static answered back. And underneath that static, a breathing sound. Measured, human, unhurried, he turned slowly and saw nothing. But his lungs stopped working anyway. Later, they'd find him suspended in zero-G, frozen with fear, eyes wide, throat untouched, as if he had forgotten how to live. Because in that moment he did. The Empire received pieces, not all at once, one every hour, first a blade, then a hand, then a spine still intact, nerve cords pulsing like it remembered what it used to be. Finally, a helmet, cracked from the inside, Taped to it, a handwritten note. Don't send tools to do a predator's job. No signature. He didn't need one, because now they knew his name without hearing it. Fear has a pulse, there was only one left. She wasn't the weakest, she was the quietest. Stealth ops, deep infiltration, last resort sleeper. She hadn't been deployed at the start. She'd been embedded inside the station for weeks before the rest arrived. Waiting, listening, unseen. She watched all 11 die, and she did nothing. Not because she couldn't intervene, because she finally understood it wouldn't matter. She tried to leave instead. The evac plan was clear. Fallback through maintenance crawl spaces. Hijack auxiliary transport, skip into null space. Leave a warning, burn the station behind her, but the crawl space had changed. She crawled forward and came out where she entered, again and again. Every passage looped. Every bolt had been repositioned. She found an airlock and forced it open, but the void didn't pull her out because there was no void. There was just a mirror, one that showed her face, then the face of every assassin that had died, and then his, expressionless, calm, looking at her through the mirror like she'd finally arrived exactly where he wanted her. She smashed it. The shards spelled one word, late. She dropped her gear, began running, no destination, just away. And everywhere she ran, the station whispered, not audibly, but structurally. The lights dimmed in rhythm. The walls bent slightly inward as she passed, ceilings too low, doors too wide. Every corner of the structure was no longer architecture. It was attention. It watched her, matched her breath. And somewhere inside it he walked, not rushed, not hunting, guiding because she was already caught. She just hadn't accepted it yet. She found a functioning comms unit. Hardline, secure, analog signal old enough to bypass interference. She screamed coordinates into the mic, begged command for extraction, for orbital bombardment, for anything. There was silence. Then a voice came through, not from command, from him, soft, plain human. I left the hatch open, she froze. It's 6 levels down, it's real, you can take it. She didn't trust it, he knew. Or stay, I'll keep you company, the line cut. She found the hatch just where he said, no traps. No signs of death, just an unlocked latch. An escape pod primed and waiting. She got in, launched, broke through the station's field, entered drift space. Her heart didn't stop pounding until the stars blurred past the canopy. She laughed, cried, screamed into the vacuum. She survived. She was the only one. Empire Command retrieved the pod, escorted her into debrief. She didn't speak. Not at first. Then she said one thing. It wasn't war. It was surgery. She told them how he never ran, never fired a weapon, never even raised his voice. He didn't fight them. He dismantled them. Then she whispered the line he said through the comms. They wrote it down, every word. Her intel was perfect. She was cleared of failure. 2 days later, her debriefing chamber collapsed in on itself. No explosive, just pressure loss. What was left of her body evaporated before it could be retrieved. All that remained was the metal bench and her tongue, still twitching. On the wall above it, etched in microcarbon, I said she could leave. I never said she'd arrive. The Empire sealed the entire report, buried the 12, scrubbed their records, changed recruitment protocols, and most of all, they stopped sending assassins to humans, because assassins require arrogance, and arrogance is a weapon that only works once. But the message had already spread, through military gossip, blacknet transmissions, tattooed on prisoners who once served as informants, a single phrase, he lets one live, to teach the others what breathing feels like when you're not sure you should. And that's how the myth started, not in a battlefield, but in a whisper passed from killer to killer. They say if you're assigned to hunt a human and the profile says nothing, you run. Because if there's only a number, if there's only silence, if there's only one left, then you were never the hunter. You were the message. The message was in pieces. They never found him. Not a body, not a trace, not even a signal bounce. One moment he was part of the station's registry. The next it was as if he'd never existed, but he had. Because the Empire couldn't deny the results. 12 elite assassins gone, all confirmed dead. Some never found, others found in too many places at once, each piece delivered with intent. He hadn't fought them, he used them to say something. And now across the empire everyone had heard it, even if no one dared repeat it. The last package arrived 3 weeks later. No escort, no transmission, just a black box left inside the Central Intelligence Tower on Nova Prime, the most secure site in Imperial space. They didn't know how it got there. There were no breaches, no alarms, just a box, small, gloss black, slick with condensation that didn't evaporate. The Admiral opened it herself. Inside, a single tooth, a strip of neural silk ripped from a tactical cortex, 12 broken blade tips, and at the center a data chip. Not Empire format, not Earth-made either. They decoded it manually. It contained no virus, no AI, just a voice. His calm, detached, human. This isn't a threat, it's inventory. Then silence. Then one final line. If I wanted to send a warning, you'd be finding your own pieces next. They locked the tower down, redacted every file, scrubbed every officer who ever approved the 12, buried the entire protocol. But it was too late. Stories had leaked, from mess hall to mess hall, between mercs and deep sleep prisoners, across fringe systems and outlaw networks. Not a name, not a face, just a shape, a shadow in human form, a man who moved like silence with intent. Some called him Echo, others the countermeasure, but most called him something simpler, something older, the quiet end. Recruitment standards changed. Assassination ops against humans were banned in silence. No memo, no vote, just fear, the kind that grows in empty rooms, the kind that watches you breathe and asks, "Are you sure you're alone?" Earth never made a statement. They didn't celebrate, didn't retaliate, didn't even confirm he was one of theirs. But in one classified Terran document later leaked by accident, the following phrase was found in a training handbook under Redline operative doctrine. If they send 12, don't match them. Don't escalate. Don't negotiate. Teach. The Empire moved on, built new weapons, trained new killers, pretended the 12 never existed, but they never sent them again. Because somewhere across the black, a lone man with no unit, no chain of command, and no known origin walks between stars. Not to fight, not to speak, just to make sure everyone remembers. You don't win against humans like him. You just get remembered as a warning.